Most people have a rough idea of where they stand financially. Not a detailed picture, just a feeling. And for most people, that feeling is somewhere between uneasy and quietly panicked. They know they should probably be doing more, saving more, investing more, thinking about it more. But the details stay blurry on purpose, because looking too closely feels worse than not looking at all. Here is the thing though. There is a whole group of people who are actually doing pretty well with money and have no idea. Not because they are rich, not because they make six figures or drive something expensive, but because they quietly built a set of habits that most people around them never did. And because those habits feel normal to them now, they assume everyone else is doing the same thing. They are not. My name is Dobers, and today we are going over 10 signs that you are further ahead financially than you think. Some of these are going to surprise you. Let's get into it. Sign number 1. You know roughly what you spend every month. Not to the penny, not from some color-coded spreadsheet you update every Sunday, just roughly. You could sit down right now and give someone a ballpark on your rent, your groceries, your subscriptions, your going out money. That sounds like the bare minimum, right? Like, of course you should know that. Except most people genuinely do not. Ask the average person what they spent on food last month, and they will hesitate. Ask them what their total monthly subscriptions add up to, and they will guess a number that is probably $30 or $40 lower than reality. Ask them to walk you through their full monthly expenses, and they will change the subject. Most people are operating completely blind, reacting to their bank balance instead of understanding it. The fact that you have even a rough picture of where your money goes puts you ahead of a genuinely large portion of the population. Awareness is not exciting. It does not feel like an accomplishment, but it is the foundation that everything else is built on. You cannot make good decisions about money you are not paying attention to. Sign number 2. You have an emergency fund with at least a few months of expenses. This one is bigger than most people realize. We are not talking about a fully loaded 6-month fund. We are not setting the bar that high. Just something. A cushion. A buffer between you and a crisis. Because here is what life looks like without one. Your car breaks down and you put it on a credit card because there is no other option. You lose your job, and within 3 weeks, you are making decisions out of pure panic instead of strategy. Something unexpected hits, and instead of handling it, you go into debt to survive it. That is how one bad month turns into a year of digging out. And the brutal truth is that most Americans are 1 or 2 paychecks away from that scenario. A 2023 survey found that nearly 60% of Americans could not cover a $1,000 emergency from savings. Not $10,000, not $5,000, $1,000. If you have 3 months of expenses sitting somewhere accessible right now, you are not just doing okay. You are doing something that the majority of people around you have not managed to do. That is not a small thing. That is real, tangible financial security that most people are walking around without. Sign number 3. You do not feel the need to look wealthy. This one is subtle, but it might be the most important sign on this entire list, because the desire to look wealthy is one of the most expensive forces in personal finance. Think about how much money gets spent every year on things whose primary purpose is signaling. The car that is slightly more than you needed, but feels right to pull up in. The apartment in the neighborhood that sounds better at dinner parties. The outfits, the watches, the dinners, the trips posted on Instagram. None of it is building anything. All of it is consuming resources that could be doing actual work. There is a concept called the millionaire next door, and the research behind it is genuinely shocking. The people with the most actual wealth in this country are overwhelmingly not the ones who look the part. They drive normal cars, they live in normal houses, they wear normal clothes, because they figured out early that looking wealthy and being wealthy require the exact opposite behaviors. Looking wealthy means spending money you have, and sometimes money you do not have, on things that depreciate immediately. Being wealthy means keeping money, growing money, and not caring particularly what that looks like from the outside. If you have reached a point where you genuinely do not feel the pull to perform your financial status for other people, that is a level of clarity that most people spend their entire lives chasing. Sign number 4. You do not carry credit card debt month to month. Let's just sit with this number for a second. The average American credit card balance right now is over $5,000. Average interest rate is above 20%, which means the average person is paying over $1,000 a year just in interest. Not paying down the balance, not buying anything new, just the cost of carrying what they already owe. Credit cards are not inherently evil. The fraud protection is real, the rewards can be genuinely valuable, the convenience is legitimate. But the moment you start rolling a balance from month to month, the card stops working for you and starts working against you. And it happens gradually, quietly, in a way that never triggers a single alarm. You put something on the card because it is easier. The bill comes and you pay most of it. The small remaining balance rolls over. Something else goes on the card. And slowly, without any single moment of obvious bad decision making, you are carrying $5,000 at 22% interest. If you pay your balance in full every month, if that is just a thing you do without thinking about it, you are avoiding one of the most common and most costly financial traps in modern life. That is not nothing. That is genuinely significant. Sign number 5. You automate your savings before you can spend it. Most people save whatever is left over at the end of the month, which means most people save nothing, because there is never anything left over. There is always one more expense, one more reason this month is not quite the month, and intentions stay intentions indefinitely. The people who actually build savings do not rely on willpower or leftover money. They move the money before they see it, before lifestyle has a single chance to consume it. The second the paycheck hits, a percentage disappears into savings automatically. No decision required, no willpower needed. The system just runs, and then they build their life around whatever remains. This sounds simple because it is simple, but simple does not mean easy. Most people have never actually set this up. They keep meaning to, they will get around to it. If you have an automatic transfer running on payday, even a small one, you have solved the hardest problem in personal finance. You got yourself out of your own way. Sign number 6. Your lifestyle has not exploded every time your income went up. This one is quiet. You would not even notice it unless you looked back. Think about the last time you got a meaningful raise or income bump. What happened? For most people, the answer is life just quietly got more expensive. Nicer apartment, better car, more eating out, upgraded version of basically everything. And 6 months later, they are making more than they ever have and somehow feeling exactly as financially tight as before. That is lifestyle creep, and it is so natural, so socially normal, so expected that most people do not even recognize it is happening until years later. The rare thing, the genuinely unusual thing, is when someone gets a raise and their expenses do not move, or at least do not move as fast as the income did. When a portion of that raise quietly disappears into investments instead of consumption. When the upgrade happens slowly and deliberately, after the financial foundation is solid instead of immediately. If you have navigated even 1 or 2 income increases without fully inflating your lifestyle to match, you have done something that most people genuinely cannot manage to do. Sign number 7. You think about cost per use before buying something. Most people evaluate purchases based on price. Is this expensive? Is this cheap? Can I afford this right now? The people who are quietly winning with money think about it differently. They think about what something costs per use, per wear, per engagement. A $200 jacket you wear 3 times a week for 5 years costs you pennies every time you put it on. A $40 jacket you wear twice and forget about cost you $20 per wear. The cheap thing was actually more expensive. This reframe changes almost every purchasing decision when you apply it consistently. It makes you slower to buy things, more intentional, less susceptible to sales and impulse and the feeling of getting a deal. And it makes you willing to spend more on things that will genuinely earn that cost over time. If you find yourself naturally thinking in these terms, evaluating things based on the value they create over time rather than just the number on the tag, you have internalized one of the most practically useful concepts in personal finance. Sign number 8. You invest consistently, even when the amount feels embarrassingly small. A lot of people are waiting until they have real money to invest, waiting until the market feels less scary, waiting until they understand it better. And the waiting feels responsible, careful, like they are being smart by not jumping in before they are ready. But here is what the waiting actually costs. Someone who puts away $200 a month starting at 25 ends up with roughly $600,000 by 65. Someone who starts the exact same thing at 35 ends up with around $270,000. Same amount, same rate of return, 10 years of difference. The outcome is cut in half. That is not a small gap. That is the entire cost of waiting until it felt right. If you are investing something consistently right now, even if the number makes you cringe a little, you are harnessing the only thing in personal finance that actually cannot be replaced: time. And every month you are in the market is a month someone on the sidelines is not getting back. Sign number 9. You started before 30. This one is going to hit different depending on where you are. But if you started paying attention to money, started saving, started investing, started building any kind of financial foundation before you turned 30, you gave yourself something that cannot be manufactured later: time in the market. The math of compound growth is not linear. It is exponential. Money invested in your 20s does not just grow. It multiplies in a way that money invested in your 40s physically cannot replicate. And most people do not figure this out until their 30s at the earliest. A lot of people, not until their 40s, which means they spend the most powerful compounding years of their financial life on the sidelines, not because they were lazy or careless, but because nobody sat them down and showed them the math clearly enough to make it feel urgent. If you started before 30, even imperfectly, even with small amounts, even without fully understanding what you were doing, you made one of the most valuable financial decisions of your life. Sign number 10. You do not have payments on things that are losing value. Car payments, financing on furniture, buy now, pay later on clothes and electronics. Payments on things that are worth less the moment you own them and less again every month after that. This is one of the quietest ways people bleed money without ever feeling a single dramatic moment of financial pain. It just becomes normal, a collection of monthly obligations for things you mostly forget you are still paying for. The car payment that has been there so long, it feels like a fixed cost of existing. The furniture you financed 2 years ago that you barely notice anymore. Each payment is manageable in isolation. Together, they create a floor on your monthly expenses that has to be met no matter what else happens in your life. And that floor gets in the way of everything. It limits what you can save, what you can invest, how much runway you have if something goes wrong. If you have gotten to a point where nothing you own that is losing value has a payment attached to it, you are free in a way that a surprising number of people are not. Your income is yours to direct, not pre-committed to a collection of depreciating assets. Here is what I want you to take away from this. None of these signs require a high income. None of them require a finance degree, or a perfect budget, or a spreadsheet you actually keep up with. They are habits, decisions, ways of thinking about money that compound quietly over time. Most of the people around you, coworkers, friends, family, are operating without most of these, not because they are irresponsible, but because nobody showed them clearly enough why it mattered. If you recognized yourself in even 3 or 4 of these, you are doing something real, something that is going to matter in 10 years in ways that are hard to fully see right now. Keep going. And if this video helped you see where you actually stand, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you are not already. I will catch you in the next one.